Hello, everyone. This is Elisa Di Lorenzo with One Extraordinary Marriage.
I'm Callie Shepard. I'm a wellness coach with Young Living Essential Oils.
And from time to time, Callie and I get together to answer your questions that have come out of the Oils and Intimacy group. And this question that we're going to be tackling today is one that I've heard a lot in the One Extraordinary Marriage family. And I know it's something that really challenges a lot of couples. And when Callie and I get together, it's really an opportunity for us to share both strategies, not just, like how do you talk better to each other and how do you have more romance, but how do you incorporate a more holistic approach, which is why I love partnering with Callie, because she really brings in, through the Young Living, the wellness component to that, so that each one of you watching the video can go out and say, you know what? I've got strategy and I've got supplementation, or I've got oils to, go with this together, so I can jump into whatever area this is and have sort of that whole well-rounded approach, instead of just being like, well, I've got all the strategy. Well, you know what? There might be an oil that would help with that.
Yeah.
So this question today came in and said, things that complicate sex feel very isolating and overwhelming. In our marriage, I feel that I have a much higher sex drive than my husband. I'm just going to pause right there. This woman is not alone. I know it's stereotypically put out there that men always have the higher sex drive. The fact of the matter is that there are many, many marriages where the woman actually has the higher sex drive, and that can be due to a lot of things. She goes on to say, we are very open and honest about our relationship, and our times together are great. They just don't happen often enough for my liking. When we've discussed my satisfaction with this, my husband has said my very long cycles make it hard for him to get back into the zone of thinking of sex again. So he doesn't believe he has low libido. He just thinks it's because of the cycles. Additionally, sometimes I bleed after sex, and that frustrates him. We both know why, but he feels like it hurts me, even though we both enjoy it. Our communication and intimacy in and out of sex is very healthy, with the exception of regularity. From what he has said, it is really my health that makes him switch off, almost like before we were married. What would you suggest to help my husband switch his mentality when I'm not bleeding? What would you suggest I do to help with feelings of rejection when I suggest it and he isn't there mentally? Rejection is a huge, huge stumbling block for a lot of marriages. And one of the most obvious ways is sexual rejection. Somebody wants it, somebody doesn't. And rejection, Tony and I have been married about just over 20 years. And rejection was really woven into the fabric of our marriage in the early years. I was like the gatekeeper. I believed that he should have to pursue me. And if I didn't want to have sex, we didn't have sex. Like, there was no consideration for his feelings. It was basically the reverse of what's going on here. In this case, the wife is the pursuer. And if he doesn't want to have sex, then okay, we're not having sex. And what I realized when Tony and I got really radical around year 11 and we did our 60 days of sex challenge, which will be a video for another day, because I'm sure there were lots of oils that would have helped us get through that. So we'll tackle that on another video. But in that, I realized the impact that rejection has on both of you.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing for the person being rejected. It's a whole nother thing for the person saying no. Nobody likes to continuously hear no. No one likes to continuously say no. And so one of the strategies that Tony and I have actually implemented in our life, and we've shared this with thousands of couples around the world, is the idea of the intimacy lifestyle. And so it's creating structure around the frequency of having sex and also the initiating of having sex. And there's no concrete way that this works, but I often just share the way that Tony and I do it, because it gives an example for folks to kind of wrap their heads around. But Tony and I decided that where we are in life, that we wanted to have sex minimum of twice a week. That worked for us, full lives, whatnot. And so we divided up the week into 2 3-day sections, and then we called Saturday our bonus day. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Tony has the privilege of initiating on one of those 3 days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I have the privilege of initiating on one of those 3 days. Saturday's a bonus day. And if anybody wants a bonus day on their days, then it's conversation, right? And if it's a no, then that's not a rejection. It's like, okay, no. All right. Well, we already got my days, and that's good. And what's happened with that is that now there isn't just one pursuer in the marriage. And that happens in a lot of marriages where there's just somebody, like, you guys fall into these routines where it's like he's always initiating or she's always initiating. And the truth of the matter is that the person that's always initiating actually would love to, every once in a while, feel like they were desired. it's good for them to feel desired and to feel wanted and to feel like you actually want to have sex with them.
Right.
And that's where taking turns initiating brings that into play, where you can actually say, okay, well, you know what? And finding out how you initiate sex, right? Because, I don't always, in fact, I never have, rip off Tony's clothes when he walks into the room. He might like that. It might be a fantasy. I don't know. It's never happened. We've been married 20 years. But what I will do is I will crawl into bed naked. Okay, he pretty much gets the hint anytime I come to bed naked. Something's going on. Or, I'll wear great lingerie or underwear, matching set. And I'm like, anytime I'm in a matching set, just consider it a gift to you, right? Like it all matches. But, you do those things, but you've got to discuss it too. Like he's got to know, or she's got to know, this is how I initiate. Because if you crawl into bed naked and they're like, why don't you have any clothes on? Well, that's a mood killer. Right. But in doing that, helping your husband, one of the things that she said was her health is a factor. She's got these long cycles. There is an amazing book out there by Toni Weschler called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. And it's a book that I have recommended for years for both men and women to read. It just gives all of the nuts and bolts in a very easy to read way about a woman's cycle. And the reason I say that men and women should read this is because guys should know what's happening with the women in their lives. They just should. And to say like, oh, well, that's a woman's thing, or that doesn't concern me, is really saying, you don't concern me. And, guys, I know you don't want all the details. It's okay. I get it. But here's the thing. If you know her cycle and when she's, right around the time of ovulation, if you guys are doing natural family planning or something like that, why she's saying no there, right? If you're past the childbearing years, or you use something else for birth control, the time around ovulation is like heightened sexual arousal. So knowing that allows the two of you to choose how you're going to be sexually intimate there. It allows for having those conversations on how are we going to be intimate. If he's saying that it's the length of the cycles that's causing the problem, then it's figuring out, and I can't wait actually to hear what you're going to share about oils, for the cycle and whatnot, but it's understanding that every woman has a different cycle. I don't care what they tell you on the tampon commercials. I don't care, what you see or hear from your buddies. Every woman's cycle is not just a perfect 28 days. And even for the woman that you're married to, it's not 28 days every month. Just unless she's on the pill, that's the only time it's regular. Other than that, welcome to the roller coaster world of being a woman.
Yep.
And so understanding, there are months where I have like a 5-day cycle, and month I have a 7-day cycle. But because Toni and I have the communication going, and that's where having that conversation going, okay, what else can we do, right? It doesn't always have to be sexual intercourse. If that's not working for you while, the wife has her period, then how else can you be physical and sexually intimate without actually having sex during that time?
Yep.
Don't allow the fact that she's bleeding for however long that is keep the two of you from having your sexual intimacy. And I think that's something where that's a conversation for both of them to say, what does our sexual intimacy look like? Like, okay, if we're not going below the belt, what can we do above the belt? Right? Because there are a lot of very sexually stimulating body parts that have nothing to do with underwear or anything covered by underwear. And so, like, let's just say during that week that you're going to explore those. Let's foster that intimacy so that you don't lose a week or 10 days. And you still have that connection with one another, because it doesn't have to just stop when she's got her period. If that was the case, then, there'd be a week-ish out of every woman's life where she wouldn't have any connection. And guys, honestly, it's good for her to have the physical connection with you. Maybe not for the couple of days that she's telling you she feels like a bear. Like I was talking to one of my clients last night, and she actually refers to it as the angry ovary. We were talking about it because she gets just like crazy angry. But those days, give her some space. But that's not every day. And so, we've shared this on other videos. Instead of getting stuck on what you can't do, get solution oriented. Start thinking about what the two of you can do in that space so that you don't lose connection with one another. Because at the end of the day, when you're married, having that connection, having that intimate time with one another is what gives you the strength to deal with the period that seems like it's never ending, to deal with the kids that are screaming all day long, to, you know, pay the mortgage bill and do all that kind of stuff. When this relationship is strong, then you guys have the strength to deal with everything else that life throws at you. But, you know, what do you do from an oil or supplement standpoint with differences in desire, or with him kind of having this mental hurdle to jump?
Yeah. No, my heart goes out to couples that experience some of these challenges. And I love looking at, okay, so we've got this stuff going on, you know, what can we do to support wellness naturally from the inside out? And yes, we can tackle the emotional side, and then we can also couple that with, you know, doing things on the physical side, like I said, to support that wellness. One thing that I recommend for every woman's arsenal, your wellness arsenal, is just going to be this wonderful serum. This is Progessence Plus. And I encourage you to do some research on this. Check it out. It's wonderful. It's something simple. You just dab it on your forearm or the sides of your neck. And you need to check this stuff out, because this can be a game changer for you and for your wellness as a woman. There are a couple of other oils that are really great to whip out. One of them is actually called Dragon Thyme. Think about where that name came from. Dragon Thyme. So Dragon Thyme is a great oil. We also love oils like clary sage. There's an oil called sclerescence. So each of these oils, I encourage you, take that, do some research, and see if that's something you might want to consider trying out for yourself. Now, for the guys, I think there are a lot of things that can play into a low sex drive for the guys. And, you know, yes, he's got this mental hang up, but that may or may not be a cover for where he's at, just within himself, and where he's at physically with himself. And to have a low sex drive for a man is very humbling. It's not something that they're proud of. And it can be just a really sensitive area for them. And so I wanted to talk for just a minute about, well, how do we support healthy hormone levels with the guys? Young Living released this amazing new supplement called Powergize. This just came out this past year, and this actually helps to support the male reproductive system. It helps, it's got immune supporting properties, but it also has healthy testosterone level supporting properties. And it's going to be great for physical performance and endurance. It's going to help at the gym if they're working to increase muscle size. But what I love the most about this is that hormone support. We always hear hormone support in terms of, well, like the women are crazy. They just, you know, they need to stop PMSing. Like, what's going on? Well, the guys have needs too. And Powergize is a great way to support that for the men. Another oil that I love for the guys is Shutran. And this is great for, it can be used as a cologne, and it is swoon worthy. Let me tell you. It's currently it's out of stock right now, but we should be getting it back soon. So keep checking to see when Shutran comes back, and snag some Shutran. But a guy using Shutran, we've heard lots of stories of how it just really helps to bolster their confidence. You know, guys struggle with their self-worth. They struggle with their self-image. Sometimes it's not as obvious, but they have a lot of very real struggles too. And so anything we can do to support healthy hormone levels, support them at an emotional level so that they feel that confidence to engage. You know, we may be misled and think it's our fault, but really there are some things that we need to support on their end as well. And then this great book, Lucy Libido, this is full of tips and tricks and suggestions. So if you snag this book, you can get some wonderful tips for For the guys, there's tips for the girls, tips for the guys. There are oils that are specifically for the men folk, which is exciting and can help make things more pleasurable, more exciting for the guys. And so that's a really great resource as well. Trying to think here. With coming from that emotional place of rejection, that can be a really hard thing to recover from, especially if it's happened time and again. There are some great oils that really deal with emotional support. And some of our favorites are the oil blend Acceptance. So just being accepting of where he's at, accepting of who you are. A lot of times if we can let some of those walls down, and, you know, maybe they were created and we feel justified in the reason that they were created. You know, sometimes we do put up walls as, you know, as a way to protect ourselves, but there are ways that we can, as we learn more about ourselves, as we learn more about that other person, as we support our wellness, you know, as we support ours and as they're supporting theirs, we're going to move into a new place, a different place where all of a sudden we're not who we were 6 months ago. And the being able to recover from some of that rejection so that isn't the key factor anymore. You know, so let's say, you know, wellness is improved on both sides, but we still have this rejection factor where we don't know how to initiate, or we're not sure what that's going to look like. That's where these strategies and tools that Elisa was talking about will be incredibly beneficial, because that defines what that can look like for you. Another oil that I love is called Release. And Release is an essential oil blend that can really just help you to be intentional about letting go of the past and moving forward into the future. We actually have an oil blend called Into the Future if you want to experiment with that too. But I love Release because you can tie so many different ideas to that word. And chances are we are holding on to some things that we shouldn't. We are carrying burdens that aren't ours to bear. And we would do well to let some of those go, to release some of those things so that we can move forward into a more positive place and into that place of emotional wellness, so that we can follow our physical wellness into that place of emotional wellness too.
Well, and I love the part where you said that there are times when a husband, you know, is using one thing as a mask for another. And there's a lot of stuff going on with him. And I think in our society, our men are kind of programmed or given the message that there are things that they're not supposed to share with us. Right. And so to be able to and willing to go past that with them. I mean, we've heard all kinds of stories of, you know, men who have a low sex drive where they're dealing with financial burdens, they're dealing with stuff at work, they're dealing with, you know, worries about their performance because maybe there was, you know, premature ejaculation, or there was, you know, failure to have an erection, or, you know, erectile dysfunction, or whatever that is. And so they're just like, if I don't do it, then I don't have to worry about any of that.
Yep.
And so really, you know, as the two of you with these different oils, you know, and love the idea even behind the name Release, you know, as you're releasing these things, because the more we hold on to stuff that we're not supposed to hold on to, the thicker those walls get between husband and wife.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that there are some things in the past, virtually everything, that needs to be kept in the past.
Yep.
Because holding on to it doesn't move your marriage forward. It doesn't deepen your intimacy.
Yep.
So I thank you so much, Callie, for just again, I'm like scribbling every time you share oils. I'm like, oh, wait, I don't think I have that one. Let me write that down on my list. So I hope everybody that's been listening has just been writing down the oils that they need to complete their arsenal, right? Because each and every one of us, I think, really gets this place of going, what does our arsenal look like? What does our toolbox look like?
Yes.
You know, do I need release? Do I need to worry about releasing the past, or am I looking into the future? Right? Either way, pick which one is going to work for you, or what you're looking to intentionally bring into your life.
Yep.
And then go there. And, you know, I think one of the things too is, you know, you're dealing with challenges and desire is don't be afraid to try something new.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to try an oil that you haven't tried before. Don't be afraid to initiate in a way that you haven't initiated before. Don't be afraid to have that conversation that you haven't had before, because you never know what can change by just taking one step and, taking that one baby step.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you don't have to go run the marathon.
Yeah.
But if you remember, any of you that have had kids, or, we've all seen the videos of little kids, when they start literally changing their lives, they do it one baby step at a time. And sometimes they actually fall down on that cute little diapered bottom of theirs.
Yeah.
And then what do babies do? They climb right back up on the table or the chair or mom's leg or grandma's leg or whoever it is, or the dog, and do it again.
Yeah.
And even if they fall down, they do it again. And that's the same kind of can-do attitude, that whether it's desire issues in your marriage or other challenges that you're facing in intimacy, we need to have that can-do attitude of a baby that just says, I'm going to climb right back up and I'm going to figure out this step thing. So Kelly, thank you so much for your time. I love it when we answer these questions. And I know that we'll have the link available if people have additional questions.
Yes.
As well, so that we can do more of these videos to get questions and answers taken care of. So thank you, everyone.